Alexander the Great of ancient Greece, about 330 BC, against the reptilian Nephilim in his campaigns towards the east. After the death of Alexander the Great, various strange spreads circulated to the ears of people at the time, even today, and they may seem excessive or even imaginary, but let's remember, he did have people, historians, taking notes and keeping journals of his campaigns and what they saw, what they encountered, even such strange humanoid Nephilim, part animal, part human type of creatures. Now, they do acquire some significant value only if we know and combine a lot of information together. But let's start from the beginning. Before Alexander the Great, various stories such as those of Theseus and Skylacus referred to many strange things in the places where his campaigns took place. In relation to what Skylacus recorded, we could assume that Alexander the Great reached the first nation of Asia, which is the female-dominated Savromatis, or the nation of the macrocephalus. That means the elongated skulls. Macrocephalus means elongated skulls in Greek, and they were near the city of Trebizond, or its palaces, near Syria. And also Ethiopians, who are more husky than all the people we know, taller than 4 bars or 2 meters. Some of them even reach the height of 5 bars, about 2.5 meters, who use incandescent arrows circumnavigation. Skylacus also referred to the inhabitants of the underground, or the troglodytes, in places where Alexander had his campaigns, and he may have met them, nation of cannibal Scythians, anonymous Pontus, Black Sea, and Lake Myotida, Peripolis area. Who were these people who were cannibals and were as tall as giants and had elongated skulls, elongated heads, like those found in Peru and elsewhere, lived inland and had lizard eyes? The description fit the reptile brotherhood perfectly. An interesting piece of information about Alexander the Great, probably the above nations, is this, quote, I also met Alexander, many nations that ate human flesh and drank the blood of animals and beasts like water. They did not bury their dead, but ate them. I attacked them. They killed many of them with my sword. And this is supposedly a witnessing by Alexander the Great. And killed many of them with my sword, enslaved their country, and fled in naught until they were fortified behind the 2 mountains called the Mazas of the North. And there is no other entrance or exit other than that between the 2 mountains. And I have used every means so that they have no other output than that. This is, of course, what Alexander is writing. And he goes on to say, and at this point I will build bronze gates, 22 cubits wide and 60 high, and I passed them in and out with lime so that they could not open them either by fire or by iron or in any other way. He's talking about the fact that the Nephilim will not be able to open these gates. And he goes on to say, Alexander the Great goes on to say, because the lime extinguishes the fire and breaks the irons, outside these awesome gates I built another building of hard stone, each 11 cubits wide, 20 cubits high, and 60 cubits long. So I secured this new building, watered the stones with tin, which I mixed with a pencil and paste and passed it with acetino, so that nothing can ever open them. And I named them the gates of the Caspian. In there I imprisoned 22 kings. The names of these nations are Magog, Goth, Kynocephali, meaning Kynocephali are the Greek word for dog heads, Nuni, Phonokerati, Sirasori, Ion, Katamorgori, Imanopodes, Campanes, Samandres, Epie, Pambori. So a lot of these are very, of course, Nephilim-looking things. Now, this is what Alexander wrote. Now, it must have been too dangerous for these nations to take so many security measures. The gates sealed by Alexander the Great may be related to the wall built by the Sassanids, the Persian dynasty 2026 to 651 AD, between the Caucasus and the Caspian Sea in present-day Azerbaijan to protect northern Mesopotamia from invasions. The narrow passage Pseudo-Callisthenes, in his books considered a patchwork of many later authors and therefore forged, is called the Caspian Gates. Ptolemy called them the Sarmatian Gates, and Strabo called them the ones on the Cyrus Strait. Possibly on the text of Pseudo-Callisthenes have been based all the rest concerning the gates sealed by Alexander the Great. Now, Saint Andreas, or the Fool for Christ, gives us irrelevant information with descriptions that fit these reptilian Nephilims. And he says, let's remember, this is a saint. He says, at that time, the Lord God will close their gates in India. Let Alexander the Macedonian king close them, and the 72 kings will come out after their people, the so-called filthy nations. We're talking about the abominable nations, the Nephilim, okay? The lands under heaven, the flesh of living people who drank and drink the blood and dogs and the mice and the frogs, and they are polluted, end quote. The text tells us that God will open the gates that Alexander the Great had sealed by closing in there 72 vicious kings with their subjects who fed on insects, flesh, and human blood. Other similar texts state that Alexander persecuted the filthy nations called, we're talking about the Nephilim, or that he found them in the kingdoms of Cyrus, meaning Persia. I will ask about, quote, I will ask about Zulkarnain. I will answer. I will tell you his story. We have given him the authority over the earth, and we have given him the means to carry out whatever he intends to follow. The Kerosi, you can punish these people or treat them favorably. I will punish, he replied, always the ungodly, and either I will abandon them to God, that I will severely punish them, but whatever belief and deed, the good will be remunerated exceptionally, and I will entrust it with an order, let it be done in vain. Dikeros again took the course of this until they reached the place where the sun rises on some people. We did not come to any of them to protect them from this heat. Yes, it is, and we have always known them by that, and they followed another path until he reached between two embankments, at the foot of which sit a people of just a few dialects. The people thus said, O Dikeros, Gog and Magog corrupt the earth. Can you raise a barrier between you for a fee? The authority under my lord, he replied, granted me power, is a greater reward than the mother, as long as you are willing to help me, and I want to raise a barrier between you. You put different iron plates with enough fiber to fill the space between the two mountains. You blew the fire until the iron glowed. Then he said, and Gog and Magog will not be able to step on the fence, nor will they pierce it. And it was added, this work is the power of the long-suffering of my Lord, and when God wills, I will change this into pieces. The promise of my Lord is infallible. And this is from the Quran, verse 83 to 98. Now, after all this, one conclusion can be drawn. Alexander the Great chased and crushed the reptilian Nephilim, at least some of them. Too much, and is it too fantastic? If the existence of reptilians is fantastic, then the above stories are also fantastic. Note 1, a bar, depending on the city that's used, is equal to about half a meter, while it can reach to 3/4 of a meter. Zul, or Dul, or Dol, Karnain means Dikeros, the one with the two horns, the name by which Muslims mean to call Alexander the Great. So this is translated for you from a Greek article. And as you can see, there's a lot of references to Alexander the Great and Tibet, Mongolia, India, China, and the gates that he imprisoned the Nephilim in. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.